Hello everyone, welcome to your writing lesson today. Let's begin with our learning target. I can write using reasons to support my opinion. What is an opinion? An opinion is what you feel, think, or believe about something. An opinion is what helps you make a choice. In order for people to believe your opinion, in order for you to sound more believable, you've got to have reasons that support your opinion and prove what you feel, think, or believe. The more details that you give, the more reasons that you explain, the more examples that you share is going to make your opinion sound more believable. Okay? Today we're going to read an mentor text written by another author. The title of this text is School Uniforms. I'm going to read it out loud, and I want you to track me as I read. As I read it, I want you to focus on what is this author's opinion. Remember, all opinion writing should begin with a strong opinion sentence. It should be in the beginning of the passage and the beginning of the essay somewhere. And then it should be, we should have an introduction, followed by reasons, and then a conclusion, okay? So I want you to pay attention, and let's try to figure out what is this author's opinion. So the title is School Uniforms. Do you and your parents argue in the morning about what you wear to school? Mornings might be easier if there wasn't a choice about what to wear. Many kids don't like the idea of school uniforms, but I think it would make life easier for kids. School uniforms are easier for families. When schools have uniforms, every student wears the same clothes. This makes fewer morning fights between parents and kids. Kids understand that wearing the uniform is a school rule. If they don't follow the rule, they can get into trouble. Wearing school uniforms makes mornings smoother in every kid's house. Another great thing about school uniforms is that they save families money. Parents don't have to worry about buying lots of outfits for school. They only need to buy a few uniforms and wash them over and over. Kids won't beg for the expensive cool clothes since they can't wear them. If parents save money, they may be able to spend on other things kids want. What do you think about wearing school uniforms? Would having to wear the chosen clothes make your life any easier? As you can see, I believe that we should have school uniforms. Write to your principal today to ask for your school to choose school uniforms. All right, so what is this author trying to convince the readers of through every single paragraph in this text? If you look at the very first paragraph, it says, many kids don't like the idea of school uniforms, but I think it would make life easier for kids. What does he think is going to make life easier for kids? He's talking about school uniforms. So his opinion is, I think school uniforms would make it easier for kids. Then he goes into reason number 1. The second paragraph is reason number 1. It says, so here's his first reason. School uniforms are easier for families. Then he goes into reason number 2. Another great thing about school uniforms is that they save families money. So I've got my opinion in yellow. I think that school uniforms would make life easier for kids. I've got reason 1, school uniforms are easier for families. And reason 2, another great thing about school uniforms is that they save families money. So reason 1, they're easier for families. And reason number 2, they save families money. But the author doesn't just stop there. One thing that I want you to notice, and one thing that good opinion writers do, is they don't just tell their reason and move on. They give examples. They explain their reason more so that their readers will have more proof, more evidence to support that reason and to believe their opinion. So when it says school uniforms are easier for families, what does that mean? He doesn't just say school uniforms are easier for families and moves on. He gives examples of what he's talking about. So today I want you to focus on these examples. So how do school uniforms make it easier for families? Well, look right here. When schools have uniforms, every student wears the same clothes. So here he is explaining it. This makes fewer morning fights between parents and kids. So one example that it makes school uniforms makes it easier for families is that there's not going to be any morning fights. Because if you've got a kid in first grade, a kid in second grade, a kid in pre-K, and they all have school uniforms, then there's not going to be any fights between parents and kids. Kids don't have anything to argue about. They have a uniform, they wear it. There's nothing to argue about. He explains it even more. Kids understand that wearing the uniform is a school rule, and if they don't follow the rule, they can get into trouble. So he finishes up with this concluding sentence. Wearing school uniforms makes mornings smoother in every kid's house. So he doesn't just say school uniforms are easier for families. He explains it. He gives examples of how do school uniforms make it easier for families. Look at his second reason. Another great thing about school uniforms is that they save families money. Well, he doesn't just stop there. He explains how do they save family money. He said you don't have to worry about buying lots of outfits. You only need to buy a few uniforms and then you wash them over and over again. So you're saving money because you're buying a couple of outfits and you're washing them over and over again. Kids don't have to, he explains even more, kids won't have to beg for the expensive cool clothes because they can't wear them. They have to wear uniforms. And then he concludes, if parents are saving money, then they can spend the money on other things that the kids want. So what I want you to do today is think about your reasons, and then I want you to explain them. Give some examples that support your reason, okay? So let's look at some examples together. Here we go.
Opinion Writing for Kids, Episode 5, Reasons and Examples. I'm writing about my favorite book, The Tale of Peter Rabbit. I've written an introduction to start my draft, so now I'm ready to write reasons and examples to support my opinion. Reasons tell why you believe something. Examples support your reasons by giving evidence. Here's the plan for my writing. I've already thought of 4 reasons why I think this book is great. Now I need to write my reasons in sentences and add examples from the book. I'm going to start with my first reason, the characters. I think The Tale of Peter Rabbit is a great book because it has really cute characters. This sentence tells my reason. Now I will write an example from the book. For example, the little bunnies are named Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They are fluffy and wear really cute clothes. Now I will write about my next reason. Also, parts of the story are really silly, like when Peter sneaks under the fence to get into the garden. On this page, I use linking words to connect my ideas, like because, for example, and also. Now I will write about my last 2 reasons. I also love the illustrations. The pictures in the book are really pretty and colorful. Last, kids can learn a lesson by reading this book. Peter learned that he should have listened to his mom to stay safe. I wrote about all 4 of my reasons and gave examples to support each one. Check out episode 6 to see how I finish my draft by writing a conclusion.
Okay, so let's practice writing some examples for this opinion essay. The opinion is every family should plan a camping trip for their next vacation. We're trying to convince our readers that every family should go on a camping trip on their next vacation. The 2 reasons are, here's reason number 1, camping is less expensive than other vacations. So now I need to give examples on how is camping less expensive than going on other vacations, like maybe to the mountains or maybe to the beach or maybe to Disney World or maybe to Great Wolf Lodge. I need to explain. I need to give examples, okay? So let's look at what I might could say to explain that a little bit more. There is a campground near our house, so we won't have to pay for airplane tickets. Also, we will not need to pay for an expensive hotel. Eating at restaurants can get pricey, but we can bring our own food when we camp. So there's 3 examples of how camping is less expensive than going on other vacations. The first example is you don't have to pay for an airplane ticket. The second example is you don't have to pay for an expensive hotel. The third example is you don't have to eat at an expensive restaurant. You can bring your own food when you go camping. So 3 examples that proves why camping is less expensive than other vacations. Let's look at reason number 2. Another reason that this writer thinks that every family should go on a camping trip for the next vacation is not having the internet while camping will lead to more quality family time. So, what does not having the internet have to do with camping and quality family time? Let's look at these examples. We won't be able to use our tablets, and this will give us more time to talk. Since we can't play games on our electronics, we can spend the time playing board games together. So the reason number 2 was, if we go camping, we're not going to have the internet and we'll be able to have more family time, because usually when people go camping, they're out in the woods, maybe in the mountains, and maybe the internet connection is not that great. So that would be another reason that this writer thinks that you should go camping on your next vacation. But then they give examples of why they think that. If we don't have our tablets, then we'll have more time to talk to each other. Sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we're always on our devices and we forget just to speak to each other. So there's one example. We can just talk to each other. Since we can't play our games on our electronics, we can spend the time playing board games together. How many of us just sit down at home and play board games or play any kind of games that are not electronic? Probably not many of us. So that would be if when we go camping, life might slow down a little bit. We might get rid of some of those computers or those iPads or those phones because the service will not be that great. And so this author gives us 2 examples of how not having the internet while camping might lead to more family time. We can talk to each other more and we can play board games together. So 2 examples right there. So now let's edit my opinion writing. Now we are supposed to be writing about our favorite candy. My favorite candy is the caramel apple pops. So I've got an introduction, I've got reason 1, reason 2, and then I've got a conclusion. So today what I'm going to work on is I'm going to work on adding at least 1 example to my first reason and at least 1 example to my second reason. Okay, so let's go ahead and reread my essay so that we can all remember what I'm writing about. Do you like the taste of sweet, ooey gooey caramel and sour green apples mixed together? Then you would love caramel apple pops. In my opinion, caramel apple pops are the best candy ever. The first reason I believe that caramel apple pops are the best is because they have yummy caramel on the outside. Another reason I think caramel apple pops are the best is because they are seasonal and only are sold at one time of the year. Some people disagree and think that blow pops are the best. They say they are better than caramel apple pops because they have bubblegum on the inside. However, I still think caramel apple pops are the most delicious candy because it is made of 2 yummy treats in one. Okay, so now we've got my essay of remember what we're writing about. Now I want to go back up to my first reason. So my first reason that I'm trying to prove that this candy is the best is that they have yummy caramel on the outside. Well, now I need to give an example of that. What makes caramel so yummy? How can I prove to other people that this part of this treat, this caramel on the outside is so yummy? So we're going to give an example. The first reason I believe that caramel apple pops are the best is because they have yummy caramel on the outside. I'm going to say, for example, there are many, let's say, most suckers do not have caramel on them. This makes caramel apple pops even more special. And now I'm going to explain what makes caramel so good. Caramel is so sweet and delicious. I love how it is so sticky and gooey. All right, so let's see if I gave some examples of why caramel makes this pop so good. The first reason I believe that caramel apple pops are the best is because they have yummy caramel on the outside. For example, most suckers do not have caramel on them. This makes caramel apple pops even more special. Caramel is so sweet and delicious. I love how it is so sticky and gooey. So I've given examples. My first example is most suckers don't have it. That's what makes this candy so special. And then I gave another example. It's sticky and gooey and it's sweet and delicious. So I've given some adjectives to describe what makes it so good. Now let's go to my second reason. Another reason I think caramel apple pops are the best is because they are seasonal and only are sold, let's fix that, I think that's a mistake, and are only sold at one time of the year. So let's explain or give an example about what seasonal means. I know we've talked a little bit about it in our previous videos, but I want to make sure all of my writers who are reading this understand that. So another reason I think caramel apple pops are the best is because they are seasonal and are only sold at one time of year. This means every year around Halloween, I get so excited to look on the candy shelves for caramel apple pops because that is the only time of year you can buy them in stores. All right, so let's see if I've explained it a little more with some examples. Another reason I think caramel apple pops are the best is because they are seasonal and are only sold at one time of year. This means every year around Halloween, I get so excited to look on the candy shelves for caramel apple pops because that is the only time of year you can buy them in the stores. So there we go. I've explained what seasonal means. I've given an example about when I can find them on the shelves and how that makes it so special. It's not like just any other candy that you can just go and purchase at any time of year. This one is only sold at one time a year, and that makes it a little bit special. So guess what time it is? It's your turn. I want you to, you should have written your essay on notebook paper because you should have been editing that with a pencil on notebook paper and sending pictures of that to me through Seesaw. I want you to pull your candy essay out and I want you to revise it to include one example for each reason, just as I did. So if you have 3 reasons in your essay, then I need you to give at least one example for each reason. Most of you probably only have 2 reasons like I do, so I want you to give at least one example for reason number 1 and one example for reason number 2. Call me if you guys need help, and happy writing!